What if I told you that Bitcoin would be trading at $1 million per coin in just 90 days from today? You'd probably call me crazy, right? Well, I might call me crazy too. But this is precisely the bet that Balaji here has put out there in the world. He says, I will take that bet. If you don't know Balaji, he's an American entrepreneur investor. He was the former CTO of Coinbase, general partner at Andreessen Horowitz. In general, this guy's super famous for thought leadership on nation states, and he's been a huge crypto bull. Effectively, every one of the power players in Silicon Valley loves this guy. Now, does that mean he's right about this prediction? I don't know, but it's compelling. Check this out. He says he will send $1 million USD. The odds are 40 to 1. In order for someone to bet against them, he only requires that they put up 1 Bitcoin. Now you see what's happening here. He's saying you put up a Bitcoin, I'll put up $1 million. And in 90 days, if the Bitcoin is worth the same as the $1 million, I keep both. Effectively, not only in the bet is he saying it's going to be worth $1 million, but he's actually setting up the odds of the bet to be exceptional for anyone who gets this opportunity. I would certainly take this bet simply because a 40 to 1 odds is a great way to win $1 million. I'll take the 39 chances that I have to win the million. Okay, the term is 90 days. All we need is a mutually agreed upon custodian. He makes it very clear here why he's doing this. Just as in 2008, the bankers lied. This time, the central bankers, the banks, and the bank regulators have all lied to all dollar holders and depositors. This isn't your typical fractional reserve situation. The problem is that there isn't enough in the banks on a mark-to-market basis to cover withdrawals. They knew this all of last year and communicated it internally in their coded language. So here's where it gets quite interesting, because he's saying that not only did the banks know about this insolvency risk that we're seeing that played out in Silicon Valley Bank, but he's actually taking it one step further and saying that the Fed actively has been lying and burying the truth here, effectively putting us all in inordinate amounts of risk. Before I get back there, I want to point this out that just today, the Wall Street Journal has reported that 186 banks are found to have similar vulnerabilities as Silicon Valley Bank, aka there ain't no money in the bank. And that is a very, very scary reality to wake up to. Anyway, back into this Balaji tweet. He says it's obvious from the graphs below. The central banks, the banks, and the banking regulators all knew a huge crash was coming. The phrase unrealized losses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they never notified you, the depositor. Instead, regulators allowed for banks to hide their literal insolvency in the footnotes. 6, until one guy figured it out. 7. Here he has all of these linked. I encourage you, I have this tweet linked in the description of this video after you finish watching it all the way through, because the end of this video is definitely something that you want to watch all the way through for. I encourage you to check out this tweet, give Balaji a follow, and follow this drama over the next 90 days at the very least, just to see what's going on here. As we can see though, he is not wrong. As we see, once we got into a rising rates environment here in 2022, the unrealized losses and available for sale securities plunged into the deep negatives here for banks across the country. Anyway, so a lot of very intense words there, but he's effectively calling for something called hyper-Bitcoinization, effectively a banking crisis of the size and proportions we've never seen before that drives a previously unthinkable amount of fiat into Bitcoin as the single most trustworthy, most accessible, most likely end up for such a dramatic amount of monetary debasement. Now, of course, we see a lot of people saying they will happily take the bet. Yes, a lot of people will take the bet. I'll take the bet. Everyone will take the bet. Everyone would take the bet. But what I think is pretty interesting to understand here is that he's not totally wrong. Not necessarily saying he's right about the $1 million Bitcoin. Of course, if $1 million Bitcoin happens in 90 days, bless the world. Though that would probably be pretty scary, because it would mean that there is such turmoil happening in the mainstream banking world that effectively it would be very, very scary for the world. But that said, there is actually something that you need to watch, which is a clip of Janet Yellen being pressed by Congress about whether or not regional banks across the country would be given the same level of confidence, the same level of backstopping that was given to Silicon Valley Bank.
Tom, I need to be able to drill in on a couple of things. Let me start with some of the banking issues we're dealing with on it. Will the deposits in every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of their size, be fully insured now? Are they fully recovered? Every bank, every community bank in Oklahoma, regardless of the size of the deposit, will they get the same treatment that SVBP just got or Signature Bank just got?
A bank only gets that treatment if a majority of the FDIC board, a supermajority of the Fed board, and I, in consultation with the president, determine that the failure to protect uninsured depositors would create systemic risk and significant economic and financial consequences.
So what is your
And we
plan?
made that determination.
Right. So what is
these
your
two banks.
plan to keep large depositors from moving their funds out of community banks into the big banks? We have seen the mergers of banks over the past decade. I'm concerned you're about to accelerate that by encouraging anyone who has a large deposit in a community bank to say, we're not going to make you whole, but if you go to one of our preferred banks, we will make you whole at that point.
Now, bear in mind, this is probably the only question that Janet Yellen had to prepare for this entire day. Everyone wanted to know, are you going to bail out the banks? What's going to happen to my deposits if I'm at a smaller bank? It's literally the only thing anyone cared about. And so the fact that this is what Janet Yellen says is extremely, extremely unsettling. And this definitely goes hand in hand with some of this crazy hyper Bitcoinization, crazy doomer talk that we're hearing out there. Listen to this. You're going to struggle to believe what Janet Yellen says.
Look, I mean, that's certainly not something that we're encouraging.
That is happening right now.
That is happening because depositors are concerned about the bank failures that have happened and whether or not other banks could also
No,
fail.
it's happening
And
because you're
it's-
fully insured no matter what the amount is. If you're in a big bank, you're not fully insured if you're in a community bank.
Well, you're not fully insured.
Like, what? What? All she had to say was that if there's a systemic risk, we're going to take care of depositors. She should have known so well that this question was coming, and her inability to answer it and ultimately going, you're not insured, is almost throwing gasoline on the fire here of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that the entire banking sector and community bank depositors are feeling.
You were at Signature, and it just barely met that threshold. You were at Signature.
Well, we felt that there was a serious risk of contagion that could have brought down and triggered runs on many banks. And that's something, given that our judgment is that the banking system overall is safe and sound.
Oof size Mount Everest here, because this is probably one of the weakest and one of the least confidence-inducing responses I've ever seen at a congressional testimony. She should have known this question was coming, prepared for it, and had some real snappy answers. But instead we get rambling, mumbling, and little interjections of, yeah, you might be screwed, effectively, if you're in a community bank, aka she's reinforcing the narrative, which is to run on all the other banks, which is not good, because when you run on a bank, the reality is they don't have the money there to satisfy the deposits. It's not like everyone running on the bank can now just get their money out. Once the run starts, the bank collapses, and tens, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars need then to be backstopped, bailed out by the federal government. And if this happens to, checks notes, 186 banks, yeah, we got a serious situation on our hands. Now, do I know if this is going to happen? No. But if the layers of this onion start getting peeled back on this banking crisis, and we start to see fear and uncertainty set in across the nation, well, take a good look at this Bitcoin explosive price action that started here at just under $20,000 and is now almost at $30,000 just within days of a single bank being bailed out. Remember, Signature Bank and Silvergate Bank weren't bailed out. It was only Silicon Valley Bank. A $10,000 move from one bank. Will the Bitcoin chart end up looking like this? I don't know, but thinking about Bitcoin hitting $1 million by the summer certainly is a huge reinforcement, a huge vindication of why we do the work here. I want to be clear. I flipped to being quite bullish after the bank bailouts clearly triggered a massive run in cryptocurrency. Now, is this sustainable? I don't know. Are the bank bailouts going to keep coming? I don't know. But if bank bailouts are coming and the result of those bailouts is for people to jump into Bitcoin, well, guess what? We've been saying all throughout 2022, we're waiting for something to break. And this would definitely be something breaking. And if something breaks and the answer to it is Bitcoin, well, all the work that we've done for the past 5+ years here on this channel will be extremely vindicated. And I'm excited that I get to work in an industry that is truly there to help save the financial system. As always, we'll be with you each step of the way. Let me know what you think about this $1 million in 90 days prediction. I hope in these crazy times you are limiting the amount of money you have in a bank deposit. And I hope you're practicing sound self-custody, taking your keys off of exchanges. changes. As always, make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Hit that bell notification and set notifications to all. Also, make sure to watch this video. It's popping up right here. It's even better than this one if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you very soon on the next episode.